building inbound marketing engines, you've been at the mecca of inbound at HubSpot, and if I could count, I couldn't even count on two hands how many amazing people I know at HubSpot and how many reasons I love the culture there as well as love the products. And so even people outside the business feel that way. But tell us what you learned at HubSpot about building inbound marketing engines that translates to G2 and how you've built that engine right now, as well as every subsequent marketing engine you're going to build. Like what translates that everyone should be doing as they're building their inbound engine.
Gosh, okay. So I mean, as you mentioned, working for HubSpot is, taught me everything that I know about inbound. And that was actually kind of when I mentioned before why I was so grateful for working there, was I just was able to work with the smartest marketing minds, and I just fucking love that team and miss them so much. They're a big customer of ours at G2 actually, and I got the chance to head back to Boston last month because we recorded this amazing customer success video with their CEO, Brian Halligan, and Kip Bodnar, their CMO. Cool. And they were talking about kind of all the value that they get from G2 and why they couldn't connect with their customers if it wasn't for G2. And so it was so fun to kind of go back there and profile this company that I was so proud to have worked at and that, was a big customer of ours. So it was really quite nice. But
nice.
Look, I think what I learned there is that, HubSpot kind of like literally wrote the book on inbound marketing. And so, I think what I learned about was just how to take a really data-driven approach to creating content that drives results. And I think, blogging and writing content marketing is something that can be done really, most people do it horribly wrong because everyone can write. So everyone thinks they can be a blogger or a content marketer. And they can, and anyone can actually write good content if they have the right training or if they use the right assistance tools. The problem where I think most people go wrong with content marketing is once you've decided what you're writing about, if it's not the right topic, you can't optimize it for something whereby no one searches for that topic. So optimization, like SEO optimization when it comes to content marketing, happens before topics are even selected, before like pen touches the paper. And that's why I have, my VP of content and SEO is an SEO by trade. He
Cool.
ran SEO at Atlassian and now leads SEO and content for us at G2. And the reason being is, you need to look at you need to start with keyword research and work out, okay, where are people searching and which searches indicate that this person is our persona that we are trying to attract to our website, blog, etc. And then you need to work out, okay, how high quality are the keywords in relation to the persona? Like is 50% of the traffic that we're going to get for this keyword with 1 million searches going to be our buyer persona? And if so, that means 500,000 of the 1 million is going to be our traffic. Or alternatively, there could be a 700,000 term per monthly searches that has a 90% alignment to your buyer persona, which is going to be higher than that 500,000. But if you just chose the biggest number, you might not get as much of the right people. And so we take a super data-driven approach. And we literally published just yesterday, I had the team publish a playbook, and it's like a 5-part playbook on learn.g2.com, which is our learning hub, which is literally like the entire play-by-play that we created to create a blog at G2 just last year, around 7 months ago, that went from 0 visitors to over 1 million monthly visitors within 7 months or something like that.
Holy shit.
Insane growth, right? Like this blog now makes up, this blog is driving millions and millions of visitors, and it hasn't existed per month, I should add, and it hasn't existed for more than a year now. And which is, HubSpot's blog drives about 6 million monthly visitors, but HubSpot's been, working on that bad boy for about 10 years.
Wow. That's a great proportional perspective for how fast it's grown.
And I mean, we're on track to hit 4 million monthlies by the end of this year. That's the goal that I set the team. For the blog alone, our total website will be at about 10 million monthlies by the end of this year. And when I joined G2, our traffic was around, it was less than 1 million a month. So to go from in 2 years to go from less than 1 million monthly visitors to 10 million, which is where we're on track for, that's fucking insanity, right?
That is literally 10x. I mean, that's insane.
And that's not just my work. It's not just the marketing team's work. We have a great product team that we work with. We have lots of contributing content writers that create content, but majority of that traffic's all organic as well, I should add. We don't do any paid content. And so, yeah, that's one thing that I'm really freaking proud about because, and that's, I mentioned earlier relationships and results. Relationships are super important, but results are as well. I think, you said kind of I was able to fast track my career. I got the CMO role at G2 when I was 29. I couldn't have done that if it wasn't for really over indexing on results. And what I mean there is like, if you tell me to hit like 1 million monthly visitors, like I'll hit 4. Like, and it's not because like I'm trying to show off or anything. It's basically because like I derive a lot of self-worth through my work achievements. And, over time I'm getting better at like disconnecting and finding self-worth from, who I am as a person, regardless of job. But, that's still something that's really important to me. And so I'm kind of thankful for that part and for that lonely boy role that I played when I was younger, because it helped get me here. And I don't think I would change it looking back.
Wow, that's an excellent answer. I love it. I hope everyone. I don't think people could write down notes fast enough as they're listening to that. So can we dive in one more layer on that? So 2 things. One, what are the phases you go through as you're thinking about building a strategy for 1 year or 2 years? Like if I'm listening to this as a head of marketing or head of sales and marketing, and I'm thinking about like, what are the phases I'm going to go through? You've directed this movie multiple times. So what are the phases you go through as you're building a strategy? And then 2, what does your scorecard look like so that you know how to measure it?
Sure. So, I mean, I guess it could be a bit different depending on if you've been doing content marketing for a while, or if you're just starting out, it's slightly different. If you've been doing it for a while, and I wrote a big blog post for Entrepreneur Magazine called The One Marketing Metric That You're Not Measuring, which kind of outlines this process in more detail. If anyone Googles the one marketing metric you're not measuring and my name, they'll find it. But basically, like, if you've already been creating content for a while, step 1 would be export all of your Google Analytics data, map it and connect it to your CRM data, and work out which blog posts are driving the most organic traffic and what's the conversion rate of that traffic into leads, and then leads into MQLs, and the MQLs into revenue. And then you can start to connect, like, what content topics that I'm writing about. Like, they give, I think, of HubSpot, right? One content topic that they might write about is marketing automation. Another content topic they might write about is social media. Another content topic they might write about is marketing budgets. Because, all of those things are things that a marketer would be searching for, and they sell to a marketer, right? And so, you would then group all of your content and pages around those topics and see, okay, in the aggregate, how much like traffic has the social media content driven to our blog organically? How much of those organic visitors to social media content have been converted into leads, et cetera? And you can start to work out what content topics are driving the most revenue at the bottom of the funnel. Yeah. Does that kind of make sense?
Yep.
Connecting the two?
Yep.
And then, so that would be what I would recommend you do if you've already got a lot of content, you are driving organic traffic, and you want to get a bit of an understanding of what is and isn't working. If you're just starting out fresh, and you can still, and then once you've done that, you then can still do what I'm going to suggest now. But if you are starting out fresh, then what I would suggest is just, your buyer persona better than anyone. Think about, like, sit down and think about, what does this person do in their day-to-day life? And if I use the HubSpot example again of, the marketing persona that we were trying to attract, I don't just think about their job in the context of my software. So what I mean by that is, yes, HubSpot's platform does email marketing and social media. So there were 2 of the topics that I touched on before. HubSpot product does nothing around budgeting, but we still created content around that topic because that was something that a marketer needs help with. They create budgets, they go to Google and they search for budget templates. So it's not just about creating contents that are like close to your product. It's about creating content around topics that your buyer persona would be searching for, regardless of whether or not they are looking for your product at that moment in time. Okay. And that's a really important piece, because if you just create content topics around the things that are in relation to your product or service, they're way more competitive typically than other topics, because that's the simple dumb marketer thing to do. Sorry, that's a bit mean. I shouldn't say the dumb marketer thing to do. That's just like the thing that everyone does naturally. You don't have to be very creative to think about doing that. And so, and I'm not saying that you shouldn't do that, but you should be thinking broader as well. I feel bad now for saying dumb marketer. But,
I think people will forgive you based on all the value you're bringing, so don't worry about it.
And so once you start to look into those different topics, that's when you start to do keyword research and using tools like SEMrush or Ahrefs. But I mean, ideally, come to G2 and search for the best SEO software, and we'll give you personalized recommendations. And then you can start to kind of look at some content tools that are out there and group these different topics to see what kind of volume of people are searching for the topics. How difficult is it to rank for these topics? So, most of the different platforms will give a difficulty score of 1 to 100, 100 meaning it's impossible. You are never going to rank for this unless you are Facebook.com to 1, any person that launches a new website can rank for it. And so, you want to choose a mixture of difficult terms because they typically have higher volume, and a mixture of some easier terms because they typically have a lower volume. And the easier terms are good because they start to drive immediate traffic to your site because you can rank for them quickly. But also, once you start driving organic traffic, then you start to kind of create the flywheel effect whereby, okay, all these new people that are reading your content are going to enter your subscription process, and then there'll be return visitors through email marketing, as well as, they're probably creating, if they're marketers and that's who you're attracting, they probably have their own blogs. If they really liked what you wrote about, they might link to you. And then if they link to you, that helps you increase your domain authority, which then helps you rank for more difficult terms. So, you want to be doing both. And I think that's a mistake that we made early on at G2.
Okay.
And it was my fault, was that, I joined from HubSpot and we had a domain authority of 92 out of 100 at HubSpot. And so when I joined G2, I think we had a domain authority only of around 80. So, some of the terms that I wanted the team to go after very early on were just too difficult. And so we didn't drive any traffic to them until like 6 months later. And the team was smart enough to say, hey, while we've created some of this really difficult high volume content, we need to do some easier content that's going to be a quicker win in the meantime to get the flywheel going, to get Google noticing our site. So I feel like I know I explained that really quickly just then, but I know we have a limited time, and I could talk about this literally for about 24 hours. Like, there's so many details to this, and it seriously, like, if anyone wants this like step for step, they should just go learn.g2.com, because we published the playbook for this yesterday.
Awesome. Do you remember, for the audience, do you remember what the top or title was? That's right. You know what? Send it to me after. The title of it, I think the title of it is literally how we grew our organic traffic to 1 million monthly visits. Okay,
visitors.
Sweet. Very original title. That's good. And for everyone listening, I'll put the link in the description of this episode.